right, big time frame, just like the last unit, or the last chapter. Remember, the fervent and reform was 1860, so same thing. We're going Constitution up to the start of the Civil War. Forging a national economy, that's going to be linking the country together. So we've got to first think back to things that are pushing Americans west. And this was a significant thing, like we talked about the Proclamation of 1763, and how that really tipped off the colonies leading into the Revolution. So now you got to remember that as people started to push west into Louisiana purchased lands because of the Lewis and Clark's exploration into that, you got to cross the mountain ranges. And that's going to be difficult. It's going to make frontier life difficult. So as you move out to the frontier, you're isolated. If you had a neighbor within 5 miles, some areas that would be considered a pretty close neighborhood. So you kind of have to fend for yourself, make your own goods, grow your own food, make your own produce. A lot of times these people weren't very well connected to what was going on back east. So they weren't always well informed. Life out west was often dangerous. And then people out west tended to be a little more superstitious. So just keep in mind, the further west you go, the more disconnected you are from society and civilization, the tougher things are going to be. Right. As people moved west, they started to make their heroes literary figures that had also kind of made a life for themselves. Matty Bumppo, this guy right here, was the main character from Deerslayer, a James Fenimore Cooper novel about a white man who gets captured by a Native American tribe, raised by the tribe, and becomes part of the tribe. What's Captain Ahab from? Moby Dick, right. He's the guy that chases the white whale around for the whole novel, and it's basically him against nature. So these become the new American heroes. All right, as people move west, they start to change the environment as they go. They start to overproduce on lands, didn't really practice good crop rotation techniques and things like that. And they start to alter the landscape in ways that's going to speed up erosion. They trap beaver in the Rocky Mountains just like the French fur trappers have done, because there's still a big demand for beaver pelts back east in Europe. So they very quickly deplete the beaver population. One of the key terms I want you to take away from this is ecological imperialism. So we're going to talk later on about imperialism being whenever a strong country dominates a weak one. Doesn't necessarily mean take over. It can be dominated through trade restrictions or something like that. So what's ecological imperialism going to be? Taking over the environment, right? So one example is going to be the destruction of buffalo herds. At one point, the U.S. Army decides that to defeat the Indians in the West, they're going to kill off as many buffalo as they can, because Native Americans' lifestyles revolve around buffalo. Some railroad trains or companies would sell tickets so you just ride slowly through buffalo infested plains, and that's probably not the right word. But, let's say plains full of buffalo, and just kill as many as you can while you hang out with them. They call them sport hunting specials. And buffalo hides were in high demand back east. And if somebody was an Eastern American who didn't really travel out west, Native Americans and Western frontier scenes would be very novel to them. So George Catlin actually made a career of painting Western scenes and painting Native Americans. And a lot of times if Native American leaders were captured in a war like the Black Hawk War, they would be paraded around back east, almost like a circus attraction. All right. As people moved west, America started to fill it with immigrants too. So America is going to be a really rapidly growing country. You can see by 1860, start of the Civil War, fourth largest in the world. Cities are growing quickly. Now, as cities grow quickly, what problems are going to come around? Overpopulation, think a little more in depth. Overpopulation, a lot of people in small areas. All right, disease. So sanitation is going to be a big issue. We'll see in the 1890s that late 19th century New York was not a place you really wanted to be. 21st century New York's not really somewhere I want to be, but certainly at the time, sanitation was a big issue. What else? Okay, economic troubles, tough to get jobs sometimes. Social conflict, yeah, and there's going to be some of that, especially when immigrants come to the city. Lack of food. Seth, what's another good problem we can talk about for urbanization, 19th century America? A lot of people in a small space.
Disease.
Diseases, we got that. Give me something else. Sanitation, been there. Transportation. You must have had a really good AP US history teacher when you did. Man, bet you got a good track coach too. Anyway, so that's right. Transportation, that's going to be a big issue. And then the other one that nobody's hit on yet that I thought we might say is going to be like just overcrowding where people live. So people are going to be crowded in the slums and tenements. All right, we are continuing to have a lot of kids. So we got a big population increase from natural reproduction and a big population increase from immigration. Now, remember, it's going to be up until 1880-ish, 82, when we have our first law that's really restrictive for the Chinese exclusion. But we're going to start to see some very strong anti-immigrant feeling at the time. America, though, to Westerners is seen as to Europeans, not Westerners, is seen as the land of freedom, land of opportunity. And people that came to America would write letters to their relatives back in Europe about how in America you can have, meat 3 times a week, something like that. So, mass wave of immigrants, late 1800s. And one thing that's going to lead to that rising immigration is going to be faster transportation. So once you get steamships, once you get cheaper passage on steamships, where people can buy steerage passages, they can come to America, without having to save up for a whole lifetime to get here. And then once you got to America, as railroad tracks spread out across the country, you can move inland quicker. You can move to the Midwest, things like that. Now to show you a little bit of how technology is starting to change the country. First, if you took AP Euro, you might remember the term Luddites. Luddites were people in England that would basically destroy factories. They would rip apart machines because they thought technology is like man going to hell in a handbasket. Read Martin Van Buren's quote about trains. My goodness, can you imagine if we could bring Martin Van Buren down to I-40? Oh, well, I'm about to say during rush hour. Not during rush hour. They're not traveling 15 miles an hour. But on a basic weekend afternoon, you got people zipping by at 70 miles an hour. You show him the high-speed trains that go through the Channel from Paris to London. He'd be shocked, rolling over in his grave. But imagine that, 15 miles an hour. God's ever intended man to travel as fast as 15 miles an hour. You can get a really good sprinter. They can run that. And then the trains are going to damage the landscape, scare women and children, frighten the livestock, cause fires. So just remember that everybody didn't buy into technology and progress is a great thing right away. It takes some people some time to understand this. So I mentioned that we're going to talk about immigrants coming to America. One of the first wave of immigrants is going to come from Ireland. And it's going to be because of the potato famine. We talked about how potatoes were part of the Columbian Exchange and really allowed the population of Ireland and Europe to boom because they're cheap and nutritious. Well, when that potato crop goes bust in the 1840s, a lot of those Irish immigrants come across the Atlantic and they settle in Boston and New York. And as they come into Boston and New York, a lot of people develop strong anti-immigrant feelings. What types of reasons are people going to be negative towards immigrants for? Why are people going to not like immigrants? All right, they're going to say they take jobs. What else? Is that the only reason people don't like immigrants? Because they take jobs? Okay, if you got more workers out there, it's going to reduce working wages for the people who already had jobs, maybe. Think culturally. Oh. Speak up. Okay, different religion? Yeah, is that what you want to say, Tom? All right, they're foreigners, so different culture in general. Yeah, the religion's going to be a key thing there because a lot of the Irish come in, and most of them will be Catholic. All right, different customs regarding alcohol consumption, things like that. This became a common sign in New York and Boston. That NINA stands for No Irish Need Apply. Saying don't even apply here, if you're Irish, they were trying to hire American-born workers only. Another big wave of immigrants that comes in the 1840s is going to come from Germany. They're going to be called the German 48ers. But before you get German 48ers,